Hello everyone, and welcome back to another EU4 guide. I'm Lord Forwind. Before I get started, if you do like these guides, please do like and subscribe. It incentivizes me to do more of them. Today we're going to be covering Malacca. So Malacca is one of the major powers in the Indonesian area. They are arguably in the best position to dominate the region at the start of the game. Majapahit down here is about to collapse. And to the north, these nations, Ayutthaya and everybody, are going to get all tied up fighting each other. Brunei is really one of your major rivals and the other stuff. But Malacca actually has a slight problem in the current patch that they can expand too quickly and get bogged down in trying to keep their country stable. So let's jump into starting stuff, then we'll go over ideas and stuff, and then we'll go for expansion. I think that's the best strategy here. So to start, you want to build your army up to its force limit, probably just using your base infantry. There's no real reason to use anything better than infantry at the start. You want to take your trade fleet, assign it to protect trade in your node. Also put it on return to port at war, otherwise they're going to get themselves killed. And build at least two, and then if you can later on, a third galley. You want all three galleys that you can get on the field or on the ocean, because you're going to have a lot of naval warfare going on. And pretty much every single country in this area has a fleet of about 10 or so at the start of the game. In terms of rivals, you can freely rival. It's basically going to put the people to your north and to your west as your rival. You're going to lose these rivalries pretty quickly as you outgrow them, but for now it's worth having them on. You're going to want to go and assign a merchant probably to the Philippines trade node, which is really the only node that you can assign it to at the moment. You can't reach Canton, which would be the best, so you might as well get the transfer bonus running through the Malaccas. Let's see, you want to assign a diplomat to, if you can, you'd ideally like to send one to China and get China to 100 opinion of them, because there is a mission right here, Emissary to the Emperor, where you can become their tributary. Becoming their tributary can be rather useful, because Ayutthaya to your north will tend to try and kill you eventually, and having the Ming on your side can be rather useful. The issue is getting the Ming to 100 opinion. Basically, if you improve relations, the best strategy I've come up with otherwise is to give them a subsidy and just keep it going for like 70 years, and eventually you'll get to 15. Obviously, if you up the price a lot, you could do it rather faster. You could also try and save up enough money for a gift. You're definitely a country that has money to spare, which is probably an easier way. But for now, send an improved opinion to the Ming. In terms of allies in the area, there's not a ton of them. Ayutthaya up here, if you can get them as a friend, they would be great. The odds of you doing so are pretty slim. As the game continues, Palembang down here will probably get it, or Palembang will get its independence. That makes them an actually half decent ally. You don't have missions and stuff to conquer them, so they tend to be, well, you do eventually, but for now, they're a pretty good ally. What else do we want you guys to do? Oh yes, you want to go to the straight to Johor here and spend your Diplo power on that. That will take care of your issue that you just had with the Crown Land of being below 30 Crown Land. Then you want to immediately seize land. Get yourself to 35. That way when you seize land again, then you can give out a privilege. In terms of other stuff, for your emirs here, you want to give them right of council. Increase levies. And if you want to, although right now the game is a bit broken, this should be fixed in the future. It's not working right currently. You can give them the monopoly on mining and smelting for a while. That can be very strong at the start. In terms of your merchants, this one gets a little bit trickier because you already have the Orang Laut alliances, which basically give you domestic trade power plus 25%, which is really strong, but you can't revoke it. But you definitely want to get tropical city planning. And ideally, you want to grab private trade fleets. Now, actually, thinking about this, this might actually decrease the cost of ships. Let me just double check. Where are we building the ships? I don't think it does, actually, unfortunately. But it's very easy now that we've handed out that privilege to the nobles to afford to build to your full fleet limit, which is important. You want to start plotting to get rid of your current ruler as fast as you can. So I advise, first off, you enlist a general, but then you also make your ruler a general. And hopefully he'll die. If not, then you basically want him to abdicate as soon as you can. He's a very terrible ruler, 1-2-1. You have a much better heir. The trick is to get the heir on the throne. You also have an interesting event down here. Time for a Sunni Sultan. Basically, because your ruler is, I believe he's Hindu, actually. Yeah. He can have this event that will have him convert to be Sunni. Your country is already Sunni, so it doesn't make a huge difference because when he dies, his heir is Sunni. So just be aware that that event can be kind of interesting, but at the same time, it costs you 2 stability, but it gives you a little legitimacy. So I don't recommend that. I recommend trying to get him to die while drilling or in a war. Ideally drilling, or wait 20 years and then force him to abdicate. He's a relatively terrible ruler. Other starting moves. Oh yes, you want to go to Pahang to your north, and you want to start building a spy network on them. So I think that is all for the starting moves for this nation, if I remember correctly. Yes, that should be all your starting moves. You'll basically be building to a full army and a full navy. So let's go over ideas, and then we'll get into the missions. So Malacca has actually, the Malaccan ideas are actually really good for trading, not so much for actual land warfare. So you get global trade power plus 10% and naval force limit plus 33%. So you can have a large fleet and you got trade power. Now, remember, you also have the trade power from the state thing. So you're going to have plenty of trade power coming out. It's rather impressive. Although it doesn't seem to be applying at the moment. It might be broken. If it isn't, this may only apply to coastal stuff. Let me just double check. No, it says domestic trade power. It might just apply down here. Yeah, here it is. Trade power here, so it'll get you even more money from that. And obviously the boost to the trade power from your ideas basically is incentivizing you to go trade and have a very large light fleet that involves itself in trading. So your merchant ships, basically. Your next idea is income from vassals plus 25 and negative 10 liberty desire. This is to incentivize you to have vassals. Then you got ship trade power plus 20. Again, large ship, large trade. You can basically stop all trade coming through this node. You can easily get like 80 or 90% control of this once you've conquered this area. The next one, you get diplomatic reputation. It's kind of nice. And then you get tolerance to the true faith, which will help a little bit, but really is a wasted idea. Then you get harbor masters, trade steering plus 20%, and max promoted cultures. This is just to redirect more trade to you. The next one, yearly legitimacy, is always nice. It just keeps your kingdom more stable. And then you've got idea cost negative 10, and to cap it all off, you get an additional merchant. You start out with 4, so that will at least give you 5. If you go trade ideas, you could have 6, 7. You could divert trade all the way from Japan, basically, all the way down to you, and you could steal all the trade coming from Australia. Definitely, probably one of the strongest trade nations in the game. Obviously, they don't have an end trade node, but I think their ideas are probably the best for trade. They don't really have any unique decisions other than that Sunni Sultan. They've got the standard Muslim ones. They can form Malaya, and in fact, they are probably one of the best countries to do it with. They can grow rather quickly. They've got good ideas. They can get a lot of money from trade, which helps. And then you can form Malaya. You'll get a really cool event, Maritime State. I won't spoil it for you. And let's talk missions. So, the Malacca mission tree is probably, in my opinion, one of the worst designed and the most hectic. You can basically start in tons of places. So let's do the right side. The right side here is basically standard stuff for all the Southeast Asians. It gives extra bonuses towards production for the rest of the game on certain islands. It's worth doing when you get the chance, but don't go out of your way to try and get it early. Let's see. Let's start from the top. We've got the Emissary to the Emperor. If you can get Ming's opinion to 100, you can become a tributary state, which will protect you from invasion to the north and honestly to the south, and then later on from the Europeans. Obviously, the Ming tends to collapse a bit now, so it's less useful. But if you want some extra protection, no one else in your area is a tributary of the Ming. So basically, if anyone attacks you, the Ming will come down on them and kill them for you, which is very strong. Basically means you don't have to worry about having a massive army once you've united the area. You can rely on the Ming. You've got an event here, the Malaccan Navy. If you have 30 galleys, you get 20 galley combat ability for 20 years, which isn't really that great. Over here, you've got 3 vassal kingdoms. If you have at least 3 vassals, you can get 100% income from them for 20 years. Big income boost early game, or even bigger later game, depending on how many vassals you have. Let's go here. If you befriend the Champa, you can get Subjugation CB on the Viet, which is a little strange, considering how far away they are. But also remember they're a tributary of the Ming, so unless you're a tributary of the Ming, attacking into this will have the Ming kill you rather than your enemies. Also, it's kind of tough to get the Ming's opinion to 100 and befriend them, so I wouldn't necessarily pursue this unless you really want to be aggressive and try and get the Viet under your control early. It's going to be hard keeping them under control, though. Let's see what else we got. We got trade dominance here. If you've got any own province to level 3 center of trade and you control 60% of the trade power, you get trade efficiency. Then if you produce enough spice or trade enough spice to get the extra bonus and are the leading producer, you can get the spice must flow, goods produce modifier by 5%. Gotta love Dune references. And then down here, if you're the strongest trade power and you're Malaya, not Malacca, you can get 10 mercantilism for free. Over here, you have all the provinces on our island must profess the Sunni faith. This is kind of weird, considering you're not really an island. But it does count all the land up to here as part of your islands, which is rather weird because this is not an island. But if you pull it off, you get cheaper missionary maintenance. Excuse me. And then if you control 60 provinces in this area that are Sunni, you can get religious tolerance to the true faith +2, stacks with your idea to 3. Basically means none of your provinces are likely to revolt. Down here, this is if you can form Malaya. You can basically get diplomatic reputation and permanent claims on Indochina, which is all of this. If you make sure there's no Europeans in the Malaya or Indonesia area, you can drive them out, get 100 Diplo admin and military, which is a nice little bonus. You got to make it to the age of absolutism or revolutions. Invading the mainland, if you invade and you own Indochina regions, you'll get a permanent claim on Burma, and you can keep expanding this way. Burma, of course, is up here. This is Indochina. And then over here, you've got if you defeat or humiliate Ayutthaya in a war, you can get 200 military power and a permanent claim on this area, which is rather nice. The humiliate is much easier than actually trying to kill them off. Just as a tip, you're better off that way. Over here, we've got Develop Malacca. It's basically your capital. If you develop it to 25 and have a mosque and a marketplace, which are going to be the easiest ones, you will automatically upgrade the center of trade. It starts at 2, so that would give you level 3 center of trade, which is quite useful. And then we have the 2 expansion routes. So basically up here, you've got a route that involves conquering this area. And down here, you've got a route that involves conquering this area. Don't pursue both at once. I've made that mistake in 2 of my test games, and basically I managed to subdue the area and have like 7 vassals, but I couldn't keep them loyal. So I don't advise you do that. So this one here, you've got to take out Pahang, which I recommend you try and do pretty early. They're Buddhist, so no one's really going to care if you conquer them because most of this area is Sunni. And they're pretty weak. Your starting army built up will allow you to kill them. Once you complete that, you'll get a subjugation CB on these 3 nations to your north, which is it's very easy to conquer and subjugate them. The problem is they'll ally people over here, at which point you can then try and subjugate both of them, which led to me acquiring like 7 vassals in 20 years. I'll show you the game later on that I did that with, but suffice to say, it was not the best decision I made. However, once you do subjugate or conquer them, conquering them might actually in some ways be a better idea because they'll add to your development. Otherwise, you've only got 6 provinces here. Your development's okay, but it's not great. You'll get 2 here, but these are not great development provinces. So it's up to you. Subjugation is what the game wants you to do, but conquering them is also a viable thing. Just be aware, if you conquer, you're going to get more AE than if you subjugate. If you do that, you'll get morale of armies and navies for 20 years of 10%. Save this until you go to war with Ayutthaya, probably, or you get into a major war down south. Over here is your option to go west. And having thought about it and considered it through multiple attempts, I recommend you subdue Pahang here as what is probably your 2nd or 3rd thing you do in terms of war. But don't go after these northern ones unless, of course, they are involved in a war, and then you just subjugate them as well. Instead, you want to go this route. So if you have an army that's 100% of your force limit, that's larger than Majapahit, and you're larger than Siak, which is this nation here, you get an event that makes them your vassal, and you get a subjugation CB on these guys, Delhi, and then Jambi down south. Subjugating those guys is quite possible. They tend to ally these guys in my experience, which can get you to both. Just be aware you don't want to get more than 4 vassals at the start. It's almost impossible to keep 4 loyal, let alone 5. It's very difficult. So in some cases, you may want to pillage people's capitals rather than subjugating them. Concentrate that development here, get this to level 3, it'll do great. These guys will be a pretty loyal vassal. If you subdue these ones, this will also give you a pretty good amount of troops and ships to draw from in wars. Your allies, your vassals, so long as they're loyal, will help you. And then you get to one of the better missions that you can do as these guys. Once you've completed this, as long as you have 4 subjects and they're loyal, so below 40 loyalty, you can get this one, which gives Liberty Desires and Subject negative 10% until the end of the game. This is amazingly good because it stacks with your first idea, which is another negative 10, and probably your first idea should be influence. That will stack with the 15 here for a total of 35 Liberty Desire reduction. It means you can hold significantly more vassals or larger ones. At that point, you could probably control 7 vassals, but I couldn't do it in my test. Jumping back to the mission. Once you've completed that mission and you've subdued this whole area here, you basically have to wipe out Majapahit, take over this area. You get enables Malacca campaign CB against countries with a Malay primary culture, which makes it easier to conquer and subjugate this whole area. And then the final one is Sumatran Subjugation. After you've subdued this area here, either through subjugation or conquest. Honestly, I'd recommend subjugation rather than conquest, because that will get you 3 subjects, and then if you conquer this, and then you subjugate some other person, you'll be able to do loyal subjects. That will give you subjugation CBs on the rest of this island, which is very strong. Just be aware that these are not permanent CBs, so they do expire. So don't take this mission. Don't start this mission, rather, until you're ready to take on the whole island. And it's pretty difficult. It's very easy to get too many subjects and too much AE. as the game continues. So let's jump to my game I was doing as one of my test runs. And I will show you the problem is very easy to run across as these guys. Oh, okay. Well, apparently I got tons of events all of a sudden. Like to the point that I apparently just lost all my stability. I think the game's bugged. I really think the game's bugged. So, ignore the fact that I just randomly lost 4 stability and my ruler died. And we'll pretend that that didn't happen. So I have as vassals all these people, and this is leading to the inevitable problem of trying to keep 6 vassals and a tributary. The tributary is easy to keep. Keeping 6 vassals loyal is almost impossible. I have managed to do. They lost the recruitment war, and I've got strong duchies, which is definitely a privilege you want to pass as soon as you get 2 subjects. Again, reduces liberty desire. It means you can have 45% less liberty desire and 2 diplomatic relations. It's very useful for maintaining a subject empire, which is what I was trying to do and kind of failed in this game. Let's see what else. Oh, yes. So I recommend you either go influence ideas as your first or second. It stacks really powerfully with your ideas to make your subjects more loyal. The other one you might want to consider is defensive, just to reduce the sheer attrition of walking through jungles. And it gives you good morale. Combined with that, you can easily hold off Ayutthaya to your north. And at some point, you want to go expansion ideas so you can colonize all this, because there's plenty of colonial lands. You may have to go exploration here just to, if you want to colonize, say, Australia. But if you don't, there's plenty of land to colonize here. And then, of course, you can use your settlers later on to promote settlement growth in your land and develop it rather than spending those precious monarch points. Let's see what else happened. What else that you guys need to know? Oh, yes. Developing the Renaissance. So I'm a big fan of developing the Renaissance early and as fast as you can in this area. It was rather difficult because I couldn't get rid of my terrible starting king for some time. In fact, he did just die there. He wasn't dying for some reason. Again, this patch is just glitched. I'm very disappointed in the release of the Leviathan patch. You want to develop Johor here, of the Straits of Johor. They're your only really good province to develop, even after you've expanded. Like, these are jungles. This is a grasslands. These are coastal, so they have, a development penalty. This being grassland does not have a development penalty other than being tropical, which is why you did the tropical city planning to reduce that to 5%. This is your best one. You got to get it to about 37 development here in order to get the Renaissance. This is where having a better king helps. I fell behind. I'm behind in tech. This is a dead run, by the way. But it's possible, and if you get really lucky, you get rainy seasons bring fertility, which will reduce the cost. And if you're super lucky, you get establishment of a new thing here for an additional 15% cheaper. And I recommend you develop this rather than your capital, because your capital is a jungle. Instead, just steal the development from your subjects. It's not particularly hard, so long as they don't all absolutely despise you, which mine do. It's very easy to develop it and get it a very high developed capital area. Just doing that right there pushed us to 30, which completes should complete this mission once I put a fort there, which I haven't done. As you can see, this requires liberty desire less than 50. This requires liberty desire less than 40. As I said earlier, you don't want to have too many subjects because it's hard to do. What else? Allying the Chimer looks like a great move early on to fight off Ayutthaya, but you really should not be messing with these guys for some time. As it is, these guys were my best ally. The Chimer proved a great distraction, though, against Ayutthaya. They got kind of stomped in the war of independence because I had too many subjects. Eventually, Ayutthaya, my rival, supported their independence and they rebelled. I won the war, but try and avoid that at all possible. take more land than you subjugate. Like, I would recommend subjugating these lands, but actually taking these lands to your north. They're of your culture, and they're of your religion mostly, so it's pretty easy to do so. It's half decent development, but more importantly, it eliminates the amount of subjects you have to maintain. So I think that's it for Malacca. I can't think of much else to help you with other than keep a strong fleet, keep a good navy. Remember that every time you take over a subject, they do contribute to your army force limit, so you can develop a rather large army from it. As you'll see, they're almost each giving 1.5 extra troops. That will help keep them loyal. Diplomatic reputation will keep them loyal too. Having good legitimacy and everything also helps as well. Prestige, remember to do the strong duchies. Remember to take estate land and then give out privileges, getting you more monarch points. Admin, then probably military. At some point you want merchants. Depends if you're going to do what I did and go influence at the start. So anyway, that is it for a guide on Malacca. Hopefully it helps you guys start. Don't make this mistake of too many subjects. And I will see you guys all in another guide. If you like this, please do like and subscribe. Bye for now.